2025 City of Burlingame Planning Commission meeting. For all in attendance today, please note that this Planning Commission meeting is being held in person and using the Zoom webinar format. Please note we are not accepting remote public comment during commission meetings. Agenda item number 2, roll call. The record should note that 5 members of the commission are present this evening. Commissioner Say is absent. Agenda item number 3, request for AB 2249 remote participation. There are no commissioners participating remotely. Agenda item number 4, review of agenda. Note that item 7A, 2649 Martinez Drive, has been continued to a future Planning Commission meeting. Staff, are there any changes to the agenda?
No, there are not.
Do we have any recusals? I see none. Agenda number 5, public comments non-agenda. Members of the public may speak about any item not on the agenda. Members of the public wishing to suggest an item for a future Planning Commission agenda may do so during the public comment period. The Ralph Brown Act, the state local agency open meeting law, prohibits the Planning Commission from acting on any matter that is not on the agenda. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. Do we have any members of the public attending in person who wish to speak on any item that is not on our agenda? Seeing none, did we receive any public comment emails?
Not on any items that are not on the agenda.
Thank you. Agenda item number 6, consent calendar. Items on the consent calendar are considered to be routine. They are acted on simultaneously unless separate discussion and/or action is requested by the applicant, a member of the public, or a commissioner prior to the time the commission votes on the motion to adopt. This evening, we have 3 items on the consent calendar. Item 6A, approval of the June 9th, 2025 Planning Commission meeting minutes. Item 6B, 1113 Cambridge Road. Item 6C, 1315 Burlingame Avenue. Would any member of the public or Planning Commission like to pull any of these items for discussion? Commissioners, any comments? Any motions?
I can make a motion to approve the consent calendar items A, B, 6, A, B, C.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Pfaff and a second by Commissioner Schmid. Any discussion on the motion? May we please have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Lowenthal.
Aye.
Commissioner Pfaff.
Aye.
Commissioner Schmid.
Aye.
Vice Chair Shores.
Aye.
Chair Horan.
Aye. The motion passes 5-0-0-1. Agenda item 7, action items. Item 7A, 2649 Martinez Drive has been continued to a future meeting. Item 8A, agenda item 8, study session. Item 8A, 1633 Westmore Road. Were any commissioners not able to visit the project site, or do any commissioners wish to note any ex parte communications regarding this project? Let the record note that all commissioners present have visited the project site. Can we hear the staff report, please?
Good evening, Commissioners. This project is on an interior lot and currently contains a 1-story single-unit dwelling and an attached 1-car garage. The applicant proposes a first-floor addition and remodel, as well as a new second story of 610 square feet. The total proposed floor area would be 2,705 square feet, where 2,780 square feet is the maximum allowed. The proposed second-floor addition includes an uncovered balcony at the rear of the house, which requires a special permit. The balcony is set back 15 feet and 1 inch from the left side property line and 23 feet from the right side property line, meeting setback requirements for balconies. The applicant is also requesting a special permit to exceed allowable plate heights on the first and second floors. On the first floor, a 9-foot 3-inch plate height is requested at the front porch, and a 10-foot 6-inch plate height along the right side of the house are proposed, where 9 feet is the maximum allowed. The new second floor is proposed with an 8-foot 6-inch plate height, where 8 feet is the maximum allowed. With the proposed project, the number of bedrooms is increasing from 2 to 3. 2 parking spaces, one of which must be covered, are required on site. The attached garage provides 1 covered parking space and 1 uncovered parking space is provided in the driveway. Therefore, this project complies with off-street parking requirements. In general, the proposed project has been designed in accordance with residential design guidelines and the R1 zoning district development standards, and the proposed project is complementary to the surrounding context of other homes in the neighborhood. However, staff has several additional suggested changes for the Planning Commission to consider, which you can find in your staff report. Staff is open to questions at this time. Thank you.
Any questions for staff? I'm going to open the public hearing. Would the applicant please come forward, state your name, and anything else you would like to add about your project?
Sorry, just a moment.
Yeah.
Is the applicant attending on Zoom right now, and do they wish to speak?
Hello there. I am attending Zoom right now.
Yes, we can hear you.
Good. So, hi, thank you for considering our application. And we have chose Burlingame to be our home. We absolutely love the community, especially Burlingame Village. We made the plans, and then according to the city, we adjusted, accommodated the comments as well. And yeah, we are looking forward if there are any concerns. Thank you so much.
Any questions for the applicant?
Yeah, I would like to know the ask for the plate height variance or whatever it's called, exception.
For the height,
The plate heights that you're asking for more than we typically allow?
and the question is, why do we want that?
Mm-hmm. Why is
For
that? Mhm.
for the ground floor?
Well, I think it was for both.
Multiple.
Multiple.
I think for the ground floor, we just have the design that we come up with is one area, and it's a bit tight, which is living area and dining and kitchen all together. So we wanted to make it look slightly bigger. So that's why we went it for the play height that is in the report. Because we don't have family room, and the design that we came up with, we are a family of 4, and we have our parents frequently visiting us. So that's the reason that we wanted to have that play height.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Any other questions for the applicant?
Yeah, I have a question. On your roof, you show 2 shallow flat roofs in the middle of the front, basically elevation before the second story addition. Can you just kind of explain what those are, why it was designed like that?
Good question. For that, I think if we have our architects on call, I will rely on them, because I'm not the subject matter expert for the roof design. Sorry about that.
Do you know why the house second story addition is so far set back?
Sorry, no.
Any other question? Thank you. Do we have any members of the public attending in person who wish to speak on this item? Please note that speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing. Commissioners, comments?
I can start. We have several issues on this project. Staff did a really good job isolating those, and I don't think we've heard any good compelling reasons as to why these plate heights are being requested. In addition, there's some detailing issues around the windows. The window trim around the house is not consistent. And when you walk this lovely block, it's definitely full of windows with mullions and details. And, this one does not have that. And so I think, based on the style, this is not an ultra modern design. I think it would be helped by some mullions potentially. I'm a little puzzled by the way the second story is articulated on the house and how it's coming up in the rear and very far set back from the front. I think that those two shallow flat roofs are just going to cause problems over the years. I'm trying to understand what the design idea there is. Staff also noticed that there's no windows on the upper left side of the home. I understand that's a closet and a bathroom, but it certainly looks very flat. So I don't know if this is a candidate for design review or if you guys feel more positively.
Other comments?
Well, I agree with his comments.
We
Okay.
can definitely look at, sorry.
Public hearing is closed. Sorry.
Okay, sorry.
So I agree. And in the front perspective, it looks okay, but you can't really see the depth and how far back that is here. And I think that is going to present a problem. When you look at the one from up top, you can see the flat roofs and no good reason for them. And I'm not seeing a good reason for the plate heights either. So I think there's a lot of challenges here, and since we do not have the architect on board to answer those questions now, I don't think we have good answers here.
I don't disagree. I'm a little more positive on the project in the sense that I think the scale at the front works well. It doesn't look as looming, but I agree it is. I like that the second floor addition is back, but not that far back. I think I can guess why the architect did those flat roofs is to keep the pitch of the roof the way it is, the front roof, and to not start blocking the windows of the second floor because they are so far back. But it does, so from head on, as Commissioner Schmid said, I think this house looks better than when you look at it at an angle because it is so disproportionate in terms of the massing. The plate heights, the 9'3" for the front entrance can simply be 9 feet, and then you don't need a special permit, and 3 inches for that front entry would not be noticed. The second floor, I agree. That is one giant room on the ground floor. 10.5 is too high, in my opinion. I would be willing to go 9.6, but I think because it's a cathedral ceiling, even that is not necessarily a must-have. Any other comments?
I just want to say, I find for this style of home, the entrance there, it looks, to me, it looks oversized. So I think it should come down a bit anyway. It looks, what's the word? Yeah, oversized,
Well, and it'd
not out of proportion.
be hard to, if they
Yeah.
do it the way it's shown, it's be virtually impossible to get fabricated.
I see.
It's huge.
Can I ask staff, is the architect on the Zoom call?
I'm not sure if he's on. I don't see his name listed. There are several participants who their names just show up.
Are you the architect? Oh. Okay, can I reopen the public hearing so that you can address some of the questions that we've had? So we had a few questions in your absence. The first was what drove you to the request for the plate heights? I think the owner answered that. The second question was why did you choose to put the second floor addition so far back?
Yes, so we reviewed the design guidelines for City of Burlingame, and we wanted to maintain the existing roof line on the front and the look of the existing house as much as we can. So we pushed the second floor, since it's small in area, to the back as much as we can to reduce the impact and the bulk on the street. Since the existing house is already, like the floor finish is already elevated between around 2.5 feet from the grade. The other thing is that we are proposing for a taller ceiling on the great room on the first floor. And we connected that with the second floor in the back to create like those nested roofs instead of being fragmented. Like we tried to match the alignment and the roof line with the second floor.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of having two fragmented masses to have like this nested roof. And a comment was raised earlier regarding the two flat portions of the front yard. And the reason for that was, yes, one, to reduce like the bulk of the house in the front yard. And the second is to allow for windows on the second floor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we prepared this presentation on the slides. Could go through it quickly. So you can see here that the darker orange area, this is the only addition on the first floor, and we try to also, because the entrance, we kept the garage and the entrance where they are. So we positioned the staircase in the middle of the house, and that. And based on that, we positioned the second floor leading from that stair toward the back. Yeah, if you go further down, yeah. So here also you can see in this roof diagram the white area. This is where it will be replaced based on the footprint of the second roof. The hatched or the cross-hatched lower area, it will be existing and only will be added on with a California roof. If you go down below, please. Yeah, so here, yeah, we can see like on the left side, how we try to keep the garage the same, the entrance the same, the roof line and the height the same. And also one comment was raised on the entry feature, the arch, and how big it is. And I agree that on this perspective, from the distortion from the renders, it could look big, but it's actually also want to like to make a correction from the staff report. The height is 810. And if you look at the physical model, it doesn't look as massive as it looks in the renders. And we also, to mitigate this, since we don't have many options with the grades, because we only have the floor finish raised a lot. So we created this hardscape to step like gradually reach to the floor finish to minimize the height of the entry feature. Similarly, also, if you look from the right side, the lift elevation, on the second floor, we also tried to create like this gradual effect instead of suddenly just adding the bulk of the mass on top. If you go to the bottom. Yeah, this is axisymmetric view, just to visualize it from top, and you can see here the roof lines. That we made it flat, yeah, for the windows on the left side, and also, and on the right side is we kept it flat to make it more symmetric on the front side. If you go to the following slide, yeah, here, yeah, we follow the same concept with the nested roofs on the rear for the second floor, and we just extended the great family, the great room into the covered patio. If you go down below, yeah, so here also, this is the plate heights and the maximum height, and we are not maximizing the maximum height. We work with the existing roof slopes. If you go, yeah, the following, this is the material board and the color palette. We're just working with like just simple tones, dark gray and off-white. And yeah, and last for here we're proposing 2 new trees to comply with the reforestation requirements. Last thing would add just based on the comments from the staff report, we could study adding windows on the second floor on the left side. Although the reason for that is that we have the vanity, we try to maximize the closet in the master closet, but we can work on that and add windows. We can unify the trim around the windows and doors all around, and also add the grid lines to the right side of the house for the windows. We can also reduce I think we can reduce the plate height by 6 inches, which shouldn't be a problem.
Commissioners, question?
Yeah, I have, through
Yeah.
the chair, I have one more question.
Sure.
Since you passed around the model.
Yeah, sure.
I don't build. A lot of my colleagues do, but you have on your model, Commissioner Schwartz, the model, please. Just a question about drainage. So I've been to enough of these meetings as a person like you, to wonder what happens with these gullies. So
Yeah.
you have the roof coming down, and then it hits this part of the house. How's the water? Is this going to be a problem?
Yeah. So we have the plans. We have like a large cricket to redirect the water to the rear, and for that we started continuing the roof like all the way to the back without having this gap. But we wanted to balance the interior design and the exterior. So for the front, we wanted to create that unified look in the nested gables, but also we wanted to, since it's not visible, and we'll propose a new tree here from this side, as you can see on the render, it won't be visible. And on that side, there's a 2-story house also. So we wanted to maximize the natural lighting into the bedroom and into the great room. Yeah.
Thank you.
It looks like, I mean, and the model kind of confirms it, that the master bedroom windows are just going to be staring at a roof. Is that?
So those are high windows, and the purpose of those is to allow more light than to provide view. But yeah, the view will overlap slightly with the roof.
Yeah, well, I'm a contractor. I'm very concerned about the waterproofing of this.
Yeah.
Even if you're able to waterproof it day one, I'm concerned about the rest of its life. You have several areas of failure. I would strongly urge you relook at this cricket situation, because I'm not even sure how you'd waterproof it.
Yeah.
And then additionally, on the back of the house, you have the porch roof basically right on the balcony. So you're going to walk out that balcony and there's a roof right there.
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure the client's aware of that because that's very strange.
Yeah, from terms of the design aesthetics, yeah, they're aware of this. It's not um, like we also try to strike like the balance between the functionality and the aesthetics of continuing the roof. As we started having a flat roof over the like and as an extension of the balcony, like as a flat roof over the patio, but we we found like this as better balance between functionality and aesthetics of extending the roof line.
Thanks.
Yeah, sure.
Could you tell us what the size of the front door is? How wide and how high?
Yeah, the front door, so the height at the middle, like the highest point of the door, this is 810.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions for the applicant? Thank you. Having reopened the public hearing, do we have any members of the public attending in person who wish to speak on this item? I'm going to close the public hearing again. Additional comments, commissioners?
I think that the ability to work with the plate heights is fine, and I think that's a good thing. And I think he's hearing our comments, which is a good thing. My biggest concern is just the mass of the second floor being backloaded. I actually like the mass itself. It's just gonna look very cakeish with a tier so far set back. If it were forward, it would integrate with the front elevation better and make it look like a two-story home that was intended to be that way, as opposed to a second-story addition. I just don't know what that does, to the floor plan and being able to adjust with that. So, but I, overall, the language of it, I like. And some of the elevations look good. It's just the three-dimensionality as a whole. The other piece is you'll want to, before the next time, look at all your trees between your tree plan and your other consultants' plans with trees on them, and just make sure you've got that coordinated. I think you've got trees that are required by the tree ordinance, but I'm not sure that everybody else has the same trees in the same place. So just look, confirm that. I'm okay with the balcony in back. I don't have an issue with that. It's just really my bigger concern is the mass.
Yeah, so I agree with Commissioner Schmidt. I think we appreciate the architect being in for the windows. I think both the windows on the left side as well as adding details and more true divided light mullions. It sounds like the entrance is 8'10", although I would double check that we're talking about the plate height, not the door height. So we need to look at having the plate heights conform with code. And so I think, yeah, I do agree that this house is close. And since you've already agreed to do many of the changes we've recommended, the last one would be to do a design study on moving the second floor forward. It's probably 6 to 8 feet. I mean, it's not all the way to the front of the house. So any other comments?
I mean, as always, I appreciate the reuse of the structure that's there very much. Agree with my colleagues about moving the mass, but I do think the flashing and everything, that all needs to be looked at, or you're going to have problems down the line. So we're here to help in the future too. So.
Actually, the model was quite helpful because I really didn't understand that false wall at the front facade hiding that roof detail in the back. So I appreciate the model as well. Does anyone want to try to make a motion?
Well, so it wouldn't include the front porch request. if we move it forward to action?
The request to,
Plate height.
the scale of the
Yeah.
front porch.
Well, yeah, because they're asking for a plate variance.
Yeah, I think the staff report suggested we should just comply with the plate heights, and I
Yeah,
think
I agree.
commissioners agreed with
Yeah,
it.
it's too
But
much. Yeah.
I can make a motion to move this on to action based on the staff report of coming back with plate heights that are within, within our plan, our requirements. And then a real good look at whether or not the second floor addition can be brought forward. And obviously, if there's reasonable doubt to how that can happen, come prepared for that so we can hear. And then just to make sure that the roof is looked at with hopefully a professional who builds, because I'm concerned about it as a long-term play. But I could see this moving on to action. So I'll make that motion to move on to action.
And you'll add the windows on the left side, and then the mullions and window details. Yeah, and we talked about the massing of the second floor.
May I ask about the mullions and the window details? You're talking about the outside, or you're talking about the pattern of the lights? What do you?
There were some windows that didn't have mullions, I think.
Oh,
Is that what you're referring to?
Got it.
Malone?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, as mentioned in the staff report. Yeah.
Staff, is that clear enough? Great.
And are you open to the friendly amendment proposed by Chair Horn?
Yes.
Yes.
Then I'm friendly to second it.
Great. We have a motion by Commissioner Lowenthal, a second by Commissioner Schmid. Any discussion on the motion?
I just want to make sure that was a motion to bring back for action. Yes.
Yes.
Correct.
Perfect. Thank you.
May we have a roll call vote?
Commissioner Lowenthal,
Aye.
Commissioner Fab,
Aye.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Aye.
Vice Chair Shores,
Aye.
Chair Horan.
Aye. The motion passes 5001. This action is not appealable. Item 8B, 340 Dwight Road. Were any commissioners not able to view the project site, or do any commissioners wish to note any ex parte communications regarding this project? Let the record note that all commissioners present have visited the project site. Can we hear the staff report, please?
Yes, this subject property is on an interior lot and currently contains a one-story single-unit dwelling and an attached garage. The applicant proposes to demolish the entire structure and build a new two-story single-unit dwelling with an attached two-car garage. The total proposed floor area would be 2,726 square feet, where 2,846 square feet is the maximum allowed. The proposed second floor includes an uncovered balcony of the rear of the dwelling, which requires a special permit. The balcony is set back 15.5 from the right side property line and 27.6 from the left side property line, complying with balcony setback requirements. The applicant is also requesting a special permit for a 10-foot plate height at the attached garage along the left side of the house, where 9 feet is the maximum allowed on the first floor. With the proposed project, there will be a total of 3 bedrooms. 2 covered parking spaces, one of which must be covered, are required on site. The attached garage provides 1 covered parking space, and there's 1 uncovered parking space provided on the driveway, which all comply with dimension requirements. Therefore, this project is in compliance with off-street parking requirement. Staff is open to questions at this time. Thank you.
Any questions for staff?
Yes. I have a question regarding the open second floor area where the stair is. That seems to be a large volume area, and I can't quite see in the FAR whether that was counted twice or not, which has been our previous way of looking at FAR on volume spaces.
If the open space is over 12 feet in height, then it is counted twice in our FAR calculations.
Okay, do we know that it got counted here? Because a good chunk of that room is,
Is your concern that it wasn't counted? We can absolutely
can't
double check that.
their calculations, and I can't see in our report that it's been doubled down. If it has, great, everybody did their job. If it hasn't, we should,
We will absolutely confirm and make sure that's noted in the action report.
okay, thank you.
For the special permit for the plate height at the garage, is that just because the garage floor is below the interior floor? So it's not, so the plate is actually at the same elevation around the entire house? It's just because of the garage, is that, am I reading that correct? Yeah, okay. I think everyone, I just, thank you.
Is that, you think that is?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Oh.
It's a slide.
Any other questions for staff? Thank you. I'm going to open the public hearing. Would the applicant please come forward and state your name and anything else you would like to add about your project?
We're double checking if they're on Zoom.
Hello, this is Maria Barmina. I'm the designer for this project. I hope you can hear me.
Yes.
Wonderful. So I heard your comments, and to answer that, so our double height space at the entrance is counted in FAR. It's counted twice. Also, our plate heights are 9 feet at the first floor and 8 feet at the second floor. And the garage, I believe, is also 9 feet, but I can double check that. We actually lowered the plate heights in the process of working with our designer.
Could you get closer to the microphone? We're having difficulty.
Yes. So our plate heights were lowered through the comments. We have 9 feet.
It sounds worse, actually. Is it possible for you to put headphones on?
Yes. Hello, can you hear me?
Much better.
Perfect.
So our plate heights were lowered based on the planner comment, and we have 9 feet at the first floor and 8 feet at the second floor. Also, our double high space of the living room is counted in FAR twice, so that's all accounted for.
Thank you. Is there anything else you'd like to share about your project?
No, not really. Unless anybody has questions, I'll be happy
Yeah.
to.
Any questions for the applicant?
I do, because I had trouble downloading the plans. So I just wanted to ask on your front porch, the
Yes.
depth of your porch, the depth.
Let me- 1 second. So the depth of our porch is, just a second. It is, I believe, so interior depth from the exterior wall to the columns is 3 feet exactly. And then with the column, it's probably 3'9" and a quarter.
The interior is just 3 feet.
Yes, it's shown on the sheet AO2. There is a dimension.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, just one more. Am I thinking correctly that on the back, on the rear, you do not, so downstairs, there's no mullions, but upstairs at the porch, does that window have, is divided lights, or it can't see? The one by the porch you're asking for?
So we have divided lights in the whole front elevation on both the first and second floor. And we have divided lights on all elevations actually, except for the back sliding doors that are facing the backyard.
Great, thank you for that information.
Commissioner Schmidt?
Yes. What, I wanted to know the size of the battens. That you're using the board and batten finish, which I think will look good. I'm just curious on the size of the battens that you're intending to use.
You know, I believe they're 9 inches, but let me see if we have it written down on the material board, which would be the page AO8. I don't have it written down. I just have the color for them and the specification for board and batten. We can add the distance for the,
Yes, when you come back for the next time, just add a little dimension for the board and batten and spacing, and that will help us greatly. Thank you.
yes.
Any other questions for the applicant? Thank you. Do we have any members of the public attending in person who wish to speak on this item? Please note that speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing. Commissioners, comments?
Yeah, I'm going to comment about the porch. That's what we call a faux porch with this group. And it's flat and just does not have the benefits of a real porch. So I sure would like to see that at least five depth personally.
Maybe limited on the front setback.
Mm.
I don't disagree, Mr. Pfaff, although overall I do like the project. It's a nice design. I think it's going to fit the neighborhood really well. I think the material choices are common in that area, so I think it'll be nice. And I can certainly find for the porch in the rear. But I do agree with Commissioner Pfaff that we don't really like faux porches as much, so I think at least a 4 or 5 foot porch would be great if possible. But I totally understand Commissioner Schmidt's point that there might be setback limitations. But if it could be explored, we'd certainly appreciate that.
Usually I don't repeat, but I'll agree. And yeah, it's something I've always been a stickler on. A front porch is meant to have a chair and have people hang out, and 3 feet is not enough. So if you can, we've been trying to get a minimum of 5 feet. If you cannot, the roof is too high, but deep porch, and the angle of the roof looks a little bit too steep. So it's just the proportions are off for it makes it look even more of a faux porch in the way it's currently designed. I like the overall house. The other two kind of aesthetic comments is the color scheme, which we're really not commenting on, other than the garage really stands out, those doors. I don't like attached garages personally. It's okay. You're replacing a house that has an attached garage, but they look very prominent in the way the color scheme is portrayed. And then lastly, the window bank on the second floor above the main entrance, that whole area looks a little bit flat to me, I think, especially the gable above the windows. So I don't know if there's any detailing that could be added to provide a bit more depth. For the special permit for the rear balcony, I'm okay with. Any other comments?
Yeah, I like the project overall, definitely. I'm a fan of the lights and everything. I believe I'm familiar with the big Craftsman next door, which has a massive porch, but I'm not going to repeat myself on that. I kind of like it. I feel like it's kind of simplifying a little bit of rustic stuff, the way a lot of places simplify Craftsman designs and things like that. I think the only thing that stands out really is that I think the front door entry doesn't quite mesh with that super well. Maybe it's the double rows of side lights. I'm not 100% sure. I see that it matches in terms of like the dimensions of the lights, and that proportions are kind of repeating. It just doesn't I think mesh that well with the overall design as much as it could. And then also just I think maybe if there could be some very, very subdued minor details added to the porch posts, maybe like some very simple like braces somewhere or something. It looks just a little bit too perfect 90-degree angles at the moment, and I think that just something very small could help that tie in. I think that, but those are very small comments. I think that overall it looks good. Yeah, no, I won't repeat the porch. So.
Any other comments?
I agree with everything he just said.
Do we have a motion?
Well, I have something I want to ask.
Yes.
I'd like to ask the director, on the front setback, that's why the porch is the way it is. I can see that from the minimum 20 feet that they've got. Is that something that they can present a variance request for? to extend that porch into the front setback?
Do we have a special permit requirement? For front porch intrusions?
Can't they just push the whole house back? Maybe there's room in the back.
I believe that that's a portion that's existing.
Oh,
I think that would be a variance.
So variance has to have why I asked between a special permit versus a variance is a variance has to have an unusual circumstance in which it cannot be achieved that has a unique characteristic of the property, which this wouldn't qualify for that. So encroaching into the front setback would either be there, we'd have to have a special permit or some type of code requirement that allows intrusions of porches in the front setback. We can definitely pin that for discussion when we talk objective design standards, if
Right.
that's something we want to look at.
And I'm just trying to make sure that we're offering them the best opportunity to achieve what we would like to see.
Yeah.
Right.
and I thought we started porches and we were trying to encourage them. So we were giving them freebie square footage on that wasn't counted. That was why we started that first place. I
Not livable space, so it's not
Yeah.
counted towards the square footage, but it is part of the structure, and so we
Right.
have to meet setback requirements.
Right.
Mhm.
Is there no other way to do this with, I mean, they're using the bottom floor, but is there no, can't the top be set back? I mean, there seems like there's a way to do it without variances.
We'd have to move their whole building back.
Mhm.
So, I mean, they can explore and we can discuss it
Yeah.
with them, but
Okay.
no, if they are not wanting to do that, that is an option. They can come back and say that we'd prefer to stay with the 3 feet. And in the future, we can explore, I've seen zoning codes where they allow a certain amount of square footage or exceptions for setbacks for porches or architectural features. That's something we can explore. However, our code's not written that way right now.
It's a good catch. I think the other option, though, is for them to reconsider it at that point and see whether it's just a covered entry rather than a
Right.
width porch.
I'd hate to open up a bag of worms to
No.
start, yeah, so,
Or it could be that they recess the door
right.
2 feet
Mhm.
to give the illusion of a deeper porch, even though they might not have or at either side.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
So they could, I mean, I think that direction, they can go back and kind of figure out if they can.
That wouldn't cost them square footage, be reframing a door.
Mhm.
Gonna get reframed anyway.
Right.
Who wants to take a crack at a motion? I heard a comment on obviously the front porch is the main comment. It looks like the plate heights are accepted, and we've accepted, I think, the second floor balcony. Commissioner Shores had a comment about the front door itself, the design of the front door, and then the porch.
So I'll make a motion that we bring it back on action with addressing the front porch with the possibility of either recessing the door or creating more depth. And the other things you just said.
Looking at the design of the front door with the
Yeah.
side lights to better fit the architectural
Mhm.
style. Good. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
I have a motion by Commissioner Schmid, a second by Commissioner Lowenthal. Any discussion on the motion? May we have a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Lowenthal,
Aye.
Commissioner Pfaff,
Aye.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Aye.
Vice Chair Shores,
Aye.
Chair Horan.
Aye, the motion passes 5-0-0-1. This action is not appealable. Item 8C, 1115 Paloma. Were any commissioners not able to visit the project site, or do any commissioners wish to note any ex parte communications regarding this project? Let the record note that all commissioners present have visited the project site. Can we hear the staff report, please?
This subject property is an interior lot and currently contains a 2-story duplex with attached garages. The applicant proposes to demolish all structures on site and build a new 3-story, 3-unit residential condo building. This project site is surrounded by existing duplex and apartment buildings. The subject property is zoned R3 and has a general plan land use designation of medium to high density residential with 21 to 50 dwelling units per acre, which allows up to 6 units on this lot. This applicant is proposing 3 units, which is equal to a density of 23 dwelling units per acre. The proposed building would contain 3 units on 3 floors with enclosed at-grade parking garages for each unit. Each unit would have their own entry and an attached 2-car garage on the ground floor facing the interior left side property line. The second floor of each unit includes a living room, kitchen, and dining room and a full bathroom. The third floor of each unit includes 2 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. A private balcony, approximately 45 square feet in size, is located on both the second and third floors of each unit. The overall height of the building is 39 feet and 6 inches above average top of curb, where 46 feet is the maximum allowed for a Tier 1 project. 2 parking spaces are required for a 2-bedroom unit, and 80% of the total parking spaces required must be covered. Each unit provides the required 2 spaces in each respective garage. A total of 175 square feet of open space is required per unit, which may be met through private or common spaces or a combination of both. The proposed project provides 698 square feet of common open space at the rear of the lot and a combined total of 276 square feet in private open space. Therefore, this project is in compliance with open space requirements. Staff is open to questions at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for staff? No. I'm going to open the public hearing. Would the applicant please come forward, state your name, and anything else you would like to add about your project?
Hi, I'm Simon Kwan, the architect. The only thing I'd like to add is in case you wonder why the driveway is on the left-hand side, because on the right-hand side, there's a very large tree with surface roots. So I cannot put the driveway on the right. That's it.
Do we have any questions for the applicant? Do we have any members of the public attending in person who wish to speak on this item? Please note that speakers are limited to 3 minutes each.
Hi, my name's Richard Gillilly, and I owned the building for me and my brother owned it for 37 years. I think it's a concern when they're building it. They're going to put piles, micro piles next to my building, about 15 feet, what I can gather off the plans. I don't know how they're going to put it in. They're going to hammer them in or drill. You know, I know construction because I'm an operator engineer, so I know about dirt and demoing and stuff like that. I'm concerned because it's really close to my building. You know, my building's probably 60-something years old, you know, and it could fracture it or, you know, crack the foundation. Right now, we got little hairline cracks, but the sidewalk in the back is perfect. It's a mint condition. My concern is right close to the fence line, like 3 feet. I have tenants that work from home, and the noise will drive them crazy. I mean, they were working on the deck, and one of the tenants was going, "Man, 2 days they're working on the deck. It's driving me crazy." And I go, "No." And then she looked at the plans, and it says that they can work from 8 to 7. I don't know. That's kind of long hours. I think that's a little ridiculous to myself, you know. I know they have to work, but, and that's about all I have to say. I mean, I'm concerned about the big tree he's talking about. It's been there forever. I have to tell the city to cut it back every once in a while. It's takes an arm and a leg to do that, but I like that tree. It's a beautiful tree. It's just big.
Thank you.
That's all I got to say.
Thank you. Appreciate your comments.
That's my brother Rick. My name is Mike Gillilly. We bought that property in 1988, I guess. So we've had it for a while. I'm also in the trades. I'm an electrical contractor in the area. Seems a little aggressive, but I guess that's the codes now that they can put that kind of a property in that spot. I appreciate the fact that they're putting a driveway on the opposite side. We do like that tree. I used to have a parrot that used to hang out in that tree. It's a beautiful tree. The design, everything, there's a lot of design of, Spanish Mediterranean on that street. Was there a reason for this kind of very modern looking style? I think it's going to stand out quite a bit. I don't know if there's anything they can do to soften up the edges, and obviously the height, I mean, it's going to tower over our property, and our tenants are very concerned. They love the area. I actually lived there for a while. It's a great area to live. I don't blame someone building 3 units in there. Some of our other concerns are obviously, I built a property on 805 California Drive, and I built it in between 2 residences. Very concerned that when I built my place, I was always popping in and talking to my neighbors, and there were some cracks in one of my neighbors' place, and I had one of my team go in there and patch and paint and did everything, nice and neat. Will that be something that we can put in the statute to make sure that they have some sort of protection, also protection for construction? There's going to be a lot of debris since it's so close to our apartment building there. And then I also had a piece of property in Millbrae where they dug down 20 feet, and our property started sagging, actually sagged 3 inches, 4 inches. And we later found out that our insurance it did not cover it, and the guy that was building it, he didn't have any insurance, and so it was going to be a fist fight and dealing with lawyers and stuff like that. I don't know how Burlingame, you guys do your, managing construction, but hopefully they're forced to make, have insurance and stuff for that kind of protection. I don't move dirt like my brother does, but that one really caused quite a bit of grief, and we ended up selling it.
Thank you. Appreciate your
Anyway,
comments.
All right, thank you.
Thanks. Thanks for coming. Any other members of the public? With the public hearing still open, would you like to just clarify the foundation design and how the piles will be installed?
The structural design has not been designed yet. I mean, this is a schematic design, session. But I did put a mass slab, a thick slab, and some piers to counterbalance the cantilever in the front. The location of the pier does not have to be right where it is. It's about, I would say, 6 feet from the property line. It could go, 8 feet, maybe even 9 feet. But again, you need to be designed first by the engineer. The depth may or may not be 15 feet. Again, it needs to be, we can have more of them with less depth. It won't be a pile, it will be just drilling equipment. Yeah. That's it.
Thank you. Okay, I'll close the public hearing. Commissioners, comments?
All good. Overall, I like the design of it. I think that with the regulations we have today in the way that this could have been a 6-unit, and if it had been affordable housing, it could have been higher. So I appreciate that the scale of this is actually a little closer to some of the other buildings in the area. There's the 3-story across the street. And I know that with other projects we've had, the first guy to go higher in the area is the villain at that point. But then eventually things, move along in the neighborhoods. So I can appreciate that. I think that for you guys as neighbors, you guys need to talk, because there's really not much that this commission would be able to put into our approval process that would protect against any of your concerns. Most of those concerns would relate more to the building department and how building puts on requirements for them on how they execute, not planning. So that would be you should communicate with the team, but, and make it so that it's a better process. But otherwise, I like the material choices. I think it's not an ultra modern, but I think it fits in nicely. And I like the slopes of the roofs that they're addressing solar and getting the panels up there. So I think there's a lot of nice things. And I really like the fact that this is an ownership opportunity within our community and not just a rental.
So I'm going to go, I agree. I think this side is actually the most attractive, and thinking in my head, how can the front be a little more welcoming? I appreciate that the trees are staying and that you have put in, I don't know what kind it is, oh, it's a red, but tree to kind of soften it, because I agree. Well, it's very eclectic. That whole area has eclectic architecture, and you know, even to the point where the numbers are put on the building, maybe there's a way to kind of, I don't know, make them attractive, some way to somehow make it look a little softer, because that is your kind of a hard face of the building. But otherwise, we can't, I don't think there's a lot that we can do about these engineering questions. That sounds really like Public Works for your concerns and talking with each other. And I also did want to compliment the open space on the porches. They are, looks like they're not faux porches. They're not Juliet. I don't think they're Juliet, at least. They look like they're usable and warm, like the material. So I think overall it's going in a good direction, and I think it'll be okay. So my comments.
Yeah, I agree with both of my fellow commissioners. I like the project a lot. As a builder who's built a lot in Burlingame, I can tell you that there's very strict and regimented code requirements, structural analysis, geotechnical reports are all going to be part of this, including probably shoring plans, which you'll have an opportunity to look at. Of course, things can happen, and that's why people also carry insurance, and you can't build in the city without insurance. So it doesn't mean that there's zero risk, but at the end of the day, people are covered, and I think the city does a great job with their analysis of how to build things. And so unfortunately, it's not part of our purview, but I can tell you that assuming the architect's correct in how they'll build it, which was how I would probably build it, pier drilling is not very invasive. It's not that loud. It's actually quite quiet comparatively. It's not going to be, I don't think, a pile driver ramming steel beams into the ground. So I think you'll be okay. As far as the design, I think it fits. I really kind of get the little kitschy, kind of retro vibe with it, and I think it'll be a nice property for the long run. So I'd see this going to consent.
Yeah, I just wanted to add a couple things. So I currently live in a two-story apartment complex across from two sets of 3 townhomes that were built maybe 5 or 6 years ago. We make do. It works out, right? I won't say that I don't wish I looked into someone else's pretty landscape backyard. Who doesn't? But I think it does work out. And I've also worked from home through that, and it does work out. I will say I also am pretty happy with the design. I was actually happy to see board formed concrete on the ground floor. I didn't know people still did that in the modern age. I'm happy to see it. I like it as a material. I was thinking of some ways to make the street-facing facade a little bit more pedestrian-friendly, but there's not a lot you can do under the constraints. Right.
Dingbats.
Yeah, I will just add, it looks like there are clear story windows on the first floor facing the backyard. If it's not a major security concern, that might add to the feeling of, that might make the street-facing facade feel a little bit more open if there were also a set poking through the board form concrete on that first story. If it's not a security concern, I'm not sure. But overall, I'm definitely, I'm definitely happy with it. So that's the only comment I had.
Nothing to add. I do appreciate the public coming and providing comments in person. I think just to echo Commissioner Schmidt, it's just not our purview, but the building department can help make sure a lot of your concerns are addressed during construction. I think there was a lot of noise, literally, around the building of Topgolf because those were driven piles. And we will not be doing driven piles. That was a unique situation, so you don't have to worry about that. I think we had a motion to bring it back on consent.
I can make a motion, bring it back on consent per the staff report.
We have a second.
I'll second.
Did you want to include any of the feedback we heard about those clear story windows, or
It's not something I would hold the project up over. It was, I suppose, just a comment, but.
So we can add that to consider that. We'll
Sure.
be able to see it on consent, and if you want to pull it, pull it. So if you want to consider the street-facing facade and any improvements to the window articulation. So we have a motion by Commissioner Lowenthal and a second by Commissioner Schmidt. Any comments on the motion? Can we take a roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Lowenthal.
Aye.
Commissioner Pfaff.
Aye.
Commissioner Schmidt.
Aye.
Vice Chair Shores.
Aye.
Chair Horan.
Aye. The motion passes 5-0-0-1. This action is not appealable.
Thank you.
Item 8D, discussion of proposed upcoming zoning code text amendment.
Good evening, Planning Commission. This agenda item is just to daylight some of the zoning code text amendments that we are currently working on that will be coming before the Planning Commission for a recommendation to City Council, probably late fall, October, November-ish, to then move on to Council before the end of the year. It is going to do a lot of work for us. First piece is the zoning code was adopted back in 2021 after the general plan was comprehensively updated. The zoning code was comprehensively updated as well to align with the general plan. However, over time, as you use the code, there are minor discrepancies that come along, typos, inconsistencies, ambiguities that as staff uses and applies the code on a daily basis come to light that weren't necessarily, fully flushed out or thought about when the code was first written. So the first pass of our analysis of this update is we're going to clean up those typos, those ambiguities, those clarifications that we encounter on a daily basis that will help us with reviewing of applications. And we won't spend a significant amount of time discussing those at the hearings, but they will be referenced and noted as strikeout and underlines in the text that comes before you. But know that that is going to be a big portion, and you will see that sprinkled throughout the zoning code amendments. Next slide. The second lift this update is going to do is it's going to implement some of the housing element policies and programs we've agreed to in our sixth cycle housing element. So a large portion of the programs and policies the city agreed to was to update our codes, one, to comply with state regulations, that are in effect in the housing element law, as well as state laws that have passed throughout the years that have put requirements. So I'm going to go through several slides to specifically highlight some of the big ones. There will be some other minor ones that come into play, but just so you're aware that these are required. We do have to do them. Many of them are embedded into state law, and we have already agreed to them when we went through the housing element process. So the first program is HA7, which is lot consolidation. This program is intended to help facilitate lot consolidation for smaller lots that are undevelopable. The city does have many small lots in older areas that are not conducive to development, and so would require consolidation to make a buildable size development lot. And so one of the requirements is to allow for the combination of these small lots The threshold here is less than half an acre into larger lots, and to provide some incentives to developers to do that, which includes allowing affordable projects to exceed maximum heights and to either lessen the setback requirements for those types of projects or reduce the parking requirements. Right now, with our analysis, we're leaning towards lessening setbacks versus the parking requirements, as the state already gives lots of flexibility on parking requirements. And so we didn't want to further that, and it's still quite a need for residential projects. Next slide. The next program is HB4, which is to allow additional streamlining and allowances for residential projects. So the one of the items is to revise the lot coverage standards in the R3 and R4 zoning districts. The way we are going to approach that is our mixed use zoning districts right now that allow residential have larger lot coverage exceptions than our R3 and R4. So we're just going to align it to be the same lot coverages for our mixed-use zones as our high-density residential zones. Thought that was the cleanest and most straightforward approach to covering this requirement. Secondly is to eliminate parking requirements for ADA accessible homes, which we believe is minor. There's specific requirements for homes that are ADA accessible, that they allow for ramps, installations that can impact parking, and the city is to allow exceptions for those type of uses when they are making ADA accessible homes. And then third is to eliminate parking requirements for development within a half-mile of a transit station, which would be our Burlingame station on North Rollins, adjacent to the Millbrae station, as well as the Broadway station. This is already state law. There is no parking requirements within a half mile. The requirement is that we codify that in our regulation.
Question? That include El Camino Real as a public transit or just the two transits?
It's just the stations. There are specific thresholds that qualify as a major transit stop under state law. It's based on the frequency and the volume of the transit running right now within the city. The only transit that qualifies is the stations. However, if bus service changes over time, that could extend to other areas, but right now it's just our.
Or, pardon me, or one of these SB somethings that's moving its way through, isn't that also bus stops at 20-minute intervals?
Based on the frequency and the amount of lines, but again, none of our roadways meet that threshold now. That doesn't mean, I think the bus systems are at a 30-minute, and should that change over time or the threshold by state law changes, that could change, but as of right now, it's just our transit stations.
And is that true with all of the other laws that are in place now? So El Camino doesn't actually qualify.
Not as a, go ahead.
Under AB 2097, bus stops that run at a frequency of at least every 15 minutes during peak commute time should qualify as major transit. And so some bus stops on El Camino Real, I believe they should qualify.
Okay, I stand corrected.
What I-
We'll double check.
Yeah.
I was, excuse me, under the impression that nothing was more than a 30-minute interval, but we'll double check.
Just curious, actually.
Yes.
Not killing me.
Program, any other questions? I'm sorry, we just.
I actually do, but I don't know if you want to finish because I have to go back. I have to go back a few slides from here.
Sure, we can't, up to you, commissioners.
Let's do it in real time.
Okay.
Yeah, so go back.
You want me to go back? Okay, where were we? Had to do with, yes. Okay, so this one, allow affordable projects to exceed maximum height limits, which do already, lessen setbacks and or reduce parking requirements. Sounds like both of them could be the case.
Right, we're gonna, because it's a and or, we're going to just focus on setbacks.
Okay, so I have an issue with setbacks. So are you talking about front setbacks, talking about side setbacks, all setbacks? What are you talking about? Anything?
We're gonna look at it closer and probably to align more with some of our zoning districts. We haven't quite flushed that out yet.
Yeah, because when you do that, you start encroaching on all the foliage that we have, which softens things. It's also privacy and good for the environment. So I'm not as keen on that one, but I just
Yeah, the alternative is to reduce parking
Right.
requirements, which
but they can do it in.
have different,
Yeah.
right? We cannot use things that are already like allowed by state law. So we'll come forward with options. It's just in our analysis, we were going to select reducing setbacks.
Okay.
But that is up to the commission and the council in which way we go. However, we do have to do something.
So will we get a chance to review from what to what? Like the numbers when you come back with?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is just a discussion. This is, the code has not been finalized. It'll come through a set of public hearings that are noticed with the exact text.
Sorry, I had a quick question in terms of the lot consolidation. So it's talking about combining smaller lots into larger lots. Is that always combining smaller lots into larger lots of any size, or is it only combining lots under a certain size up to a certain size? Do you know are you familiar with the guidelines or guide rails on that?
If I understand your question, for like a potential scenario would be you have a 1 acre lot and adjacent to it is a 1/4 acre lot. Can they use lot consolidation because they're combining the 1/4 acre into a 1 acre lot?
Right.
You can. It doesn't mean that all of the lots that are being merged have to be below the 1/2 acre.
Mhm.
It is to allow for these smaller lots that cannot be developed on
I
their
see.
own
Okay.
to be developable.
Okay, so it's targeting the really small, I see. Okay, thank you.
Further on that, just if you have an idea, can you give an example of an area or what? I can't even think of, unless it's over by Rollins, or I'm trying to think, where would that be? The kind of that, 1/2 acre, we just have tiny little parcels.
So some of our outskirts of our downtown area or over Broadway are a lot smaller lots. I think some of those are less than 1/2 acre. If you're looking for general area.
Maybe I'm not understanding the way this is written. It's okay. I don't think I'm understanding.
Does this apply to all zones across the city?
Yeah.
Or-
It applies to residential zones.
Yeah, so an example could be my neighbor's lot is 42 feet wide. It's not 50 feet wide. And so if that person wanted to combine it with
Their neighbor.
their neighbor to create a larger lot to put in higher density housing. So it's anything below 0.5. It's not,
Oh,
there's almost nothing in Burlingame residential that's anywhere near 1/2 acre.
I know, that's what
Don't get hung up on that.
I think I understood the opposite. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't remember like what the last project acreage was of that property, if it was less than a 1/2 acre, but
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Under
that property,
like an eighth.
if realistically it's in the R3 zoning district, realistically to develop at the density that it's zoned for is pretty impossible given the size of the lot. This is to allow, say, several of those to consolidate and be able to build at the density that it's zoned at, because the constraint right now is its lot size, not the underlying density that's prescribed to it.
Okay, now I get it. Thank you.
Any other questions on the lot consolidation? On the incentives for affordable units in new residential projects? Oh, I don't think we went to that one.
We just read it and it looks fine.
Reading.
Okay, let's go back to streamlining for allowances for residential development. Revising the lot coverage standards.
And again, we'll have an opportunity to look at from what to what, like the numbers. Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions on this one?
No.
Okay, we'll move on to then C2, which is provide incentives for developers to include additional affordable units in new residential projects. So this would be to allow additional affordable units to be counted as a community benefit. I'm sure you're all very well familiar. There's different tiers in the city, and you can get additional densities if you implement some community benefits, such as additional streetscape improvements, and we have a menu of options. This is to allow the addition of additional affordable units to count for a community benefit for additional density. They pretty much can anyway through state density bonus law. It's incorporating it in our regulation framework. To adopt incentives to encourage larger affordable unit sizes. And so we're looking at what those types of incentives could look like. There is some parameters and potential options that were written into the housing element. Typically, what you end up seeing with projects is they will have studio, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, three bedroom on rare occasion, but they allocate all of their affordable units as like the studios and 1 bedrooms, even though our requirements are that they have a diversity, but they typically allocate the smaller unit sizes. What incentives, so the state is saying, what incentives can you provide to get them to do bigger family size units? What we are seeing when we run our lotteries for the BMR units, people are wanting 2 to 3 bedrooms, and there's just very limited affordable housing stock at those sizes. So how can we incentivize those to be constructed?
Could you look at that differently from the standpoint of bedrooms versus affordable units? You know, we had.
Can you say more about that?
Well, so we had that project 2 weeks ago on.
Behind, yeah, I know.
Behind.
Nicholson.
Yeah. And they'd come a few years ago with 100 and some units.
Oh, right.
Then they came back and said, well, we want to reorganize. Well, they came back with the same number of bedrooms. They just reorganized to fewer units. And I know I've done some of these analysis too, and they say, how many units can I get? And it's like, well, that's not necessarily a quality thing on making your money. But maybe we need to look at if they are giving us 3 bedrooms, that counts towards more of their affordable housing that they're giving, as opposed to I'm giving a really big one at a bigger loss. I'm only getting 1 unit's credit. So there might be a way to look at that differently, that if they're giving better quality affordable units, that we are giving them more bang for their buck.
So for example, they provide 5 3-bedroom affordable units versus 10 1-bedroom units. That could be part of the incentive structure. The other part that layers in here is then we have like a percentage requirement. And then the other layer here is like the depth of the affordability, right? So I would agree with you, like 5 3-bedroom units are better than 10 1-bedroom units if they're equally low, but I would far prefer them at deeper affordabilities, even if they're 1 bedrooms, because there's a far greater need for those. So sure, we can look at how we balance all of that.
But I think it's just being open to changing.
Absolutely.
Are counted maybe creates a greater benefit for the whole and encourages more.
And we can do some more investigation on what the need is right now, because the other layers, like we want to make sure we're putting out the product that are the greatest need, that we're seeing the greatest application. So we can look into that a little bit further. The requirement is that we just explore this and provide some type of incentive structure. And then lastly, to amend the density bonus ordinance and residential impact fee in lieu option to extend the affordability time restrictions on subsidized housing. So right now, the requirement is that a rental a deed restricted affordable unit is deed restricted for 55 years. A ownership unit is restricted for 45 years. Some cities are doing the deed restrictions in perpetuity so that they don't ever sunset, which is becoming more normal. This is saying that we look at extending it beyond the 55 years.
Can I ask a question for my colleagues? What is these days an expected life of some of these multi-unit places that are being built? What is the expected life? Isn't it maybe, I don't know, it seems like things just don't last as long anymore, but I mean, no,
Depends, there's some 100-year-old
30 to
buildings.
50 years. Pardon?
It depends, there are some 100-year-old buildings.
No, I know, but I'm saying the ones that are being built now. I know that we have really old buildings, a lot of multi-unit, but I mean, the ones that are being built now, do they make some kind of calculation that it's, I don't know, it sort of degrades after? I have no idea. I was just curious. When you make these restrictions, it's like, or whatever, you say it's good for 50 years, what does that mean? So is that the life of the building now? I don't know.
It was a common standard that was used when affordable requirements came into place. It allows for a developer, when they are putting together the cost of the carrying cost of subsidizing those units in comparison to the offset that they're going to have to collect of the other units and the life of the project, so they can calculate if they can make projects pencil or not. There are a whole other set of layers of now state laws that are trying to reconcile as these deed restricted units are ending their terms of how to keep them affordable and manage that and find new ways to take care of them. So the new line of thinking is to just allow them to deed restrict them in perpetuity for however long that building is alive. So you don't come to a situation where you have tenants in there, their deed restriction ends and the city is left with trying to relocate these lower income units somewhere else in the city, and there's no available housing stock, and the property owner then can raise the rents or whatever that thing may be. So that's the intent of this requirement. My recommendation would be that our revision be to deed restrict them in perpetuity. Thoughts, concerns? I see.
Perpetuity is for the building down. The land.
Exactly.
Is it the building or the land in perpetuity?
The unit.
The unit. So if the whole building is obsolete and they tear it down, you start all over again with a new development agreement.
You do, and now there are, I feel like I'm a broken record. There are now new state laws of no net loss, and you'll see this where when residential buildings are decommissioned to either rebuild those units and give first rights to those tenants, but overall that the city is not losing residential units. I know there's no easy answer because there's layers and layers of state laws that start to play on top of each other.
That just seems like it's just then discourages change.
So that is why there is an in lieu fee option. So the inclusionary affordable requirement is that there is always a impact fee that they can pay in lieu of constructing the units, which is always an option.
Well, no, I mean, it's just that whole end of life thing. It's just putting a lot less predictability on the investor, especially if it wants to carry forward on the land. It's just going to be more things that are going to let rot.
Well, the no net loss does not only apply to the affordable units, it applies to all of the residential units. So yes, the doing it in perpetuity does provide more clarity for the owner. In most cases, the developer is pretty much calculating that they're carrying that cost in perpetuity. It's just providing the assurance, especially given now that properties change hands so frequently. And so you're inheriting deed restriction, then the onus is on the city and the property owners to continually monitor when units are aging out and how to handle that. It just makes it a bit cleaner. That
I would just add, Netta, if it's okay, that, usually if cities have gone for the in perpetuity route, that deed restriction is phrased in order to allow some flexibility there at the end of life. Yes, the in perpetuity is the intent, right? But we wouldn't want to put the city in a position where the city wants some higher and better use for the property. And, so we would make sure that any such deed restriction would have sort of an out for the city at least, and potentially some objective standards that would need to be in, triggers, if you will, that would need to happen in order for, the city to, pursue a different use or the owner to pursue a different use.
But again, we can explore that as this comes forward. I just wanted to be clear on, we will come with some staff recommendations, so at least there's a starting point for discussion. Next slide. Can you go one more slide real quick? And then the last program is HD2 to improve livability of housing units for persons with disabilities. So one is cleaning up the definition of family. That's very specific, that we're required to do, to permit supportive housing, which is allowed by right in any zone that allows for multifamily and mixed use or residential uses. That's already state law. We just need to adhere to it in our regulations. To allow for the modification for required parking for units that are occupied by supportive housing residents that are located within 1/2 mile of a public transit stop. And then add specific definitions for group homes, which is 7 or more persons, subject to the restrictions that apply to all other residential uses and types. A common theme here is that the state law requires that you cannot treat different types of supportive, transitional, group home facilities any different than you treat other residential uses. It was common in zoning codes that they would require to have CUPs or other onerous restrictions and requirements. And basically the state law says you can't discriminate against them or treat them any differently unless you're going to require a CUP for everything or require those requirements for all residential uses. You can't like specifically pin them out of the group. So basically it's to get all of our regulations in our code in compliance with that across the board.
Mhm.
That's the easiest way to explain that, if you're wondering why so many very specific things that we have to do. And then if we can, any questions about that? And then if we can jump back up one. Okay, this is one that is going to be a little bit more of a controversial slide. And this is not cleanup and this is not housing element related. These are just areas that we were looking at to offer opportunities to streamline or clarify our processes. Admittedly, they relate a lot to the Planning Commission's process. So the first one would be to eliminate the requirement for a study session. Now, I want to be clear, right, and you're very familiar with this. Right now, every application has to come to study before it comes for action. So effectively, you see all applications twice. Oftentimes, what we've observed is most of the applications are in pretty good shape that you are putting them on consent for your action at the next meeting. And I say a lot of times, I'd say maybe 50% or more. This would mean that every application that we bring would just come forward for your ability to act on it. Doesn't mean you have to act on it, but it gives you the ability to act on it, to say that, hey, if the application is in good shape, the conditions of approval are there, the resolution will be there with all of its finding, that you can act on it, or say if there was minor modifications, that you could formulate that in a condition of approval for staff to double check during the building permit review process, and you could act on it at that meeting and finish the item without continuing it and adding it on consent for the next meeting. What that does is provide streamlining for applicants and homeowners to go through the process more quickly, especially for those ones that are in good shape and really well done and can benefit from that. It helps staff in terms of processing. It helps you all with reducing the amount of application types on an agenda. And it is a pretty standard process for applications in many local jurisdictions. It is very, very rare that you would see a city that requires all of their applications to go to study before they go to action. Now, that doesn't mean if there's a project that you, for example, one of the items tonight with the setback second story, that you want more significant changes, that you just continue when it comes back and makes those modifications and you see it again. But for like the last one, or even the first one where there were more minor edits that could be formulated into a condition of approval, or you thought, well, like the last one was ready to go, you can act on it. The resolution and all the conditions are there for you to be able to act on it. And it doesn't prevent the ability that something can come to you on study. Larger projects or on case-by-case basis is something is just really not up to par and needs to come to study first. It still can be done. The point here is that the requirement that everything shall come to study would be removed to kind of open up some streamlining opportunity there.
Are you asking for feedback?
If you have it, but not really because the item's not there, just I'm daylighting it for you all to sit on it. I know these are big ones. This is a little more meaty, and this isn't, the state is requiring this. It is just the analysis of our codes and seeing how the Planning Commission is currently operating to provide opportunity for some streamlining opportunities. But if you have questions, I'm happy to answer them.
So we would just continue more for the projects that,
That you believe cannot be handled at that meeting, yes.
and then if we're recommending design review, then it would still go through that process and come back as a continued item when it's ready to be acted.
Correct. And many other cities function that way, in that they'll just continue it either to a date certain, if they believe it's kind of a minor enough change that can come back at the next meeting or in a month from now, or if it's a more significant thing that needs, you just continue it to a date uncertain. It all gets renoticed again and comes back when it's ready for action.
Well, I would, well, I'm sure you're going to do this anyway, but I would be interested over maybe a period of the last 2 years or something at our projects, what, if you could put them in silos, what do we do with them? How many were continued? How many, we had a couple that had to go to design review or to a consultant, which I see you're eliminating.
The next idea,
Yeah, I can.
not eliminating, want to discuss.
Yeah. I mean, I put them in silos so we could really, if you could, so we could really see what we did. And because it's easier, I think, to assess what happened rather than going, what could happen, what did happen. So I think that would be helpful for me anyway, to see what we did.
Sure.
How many times was it continued? Because we did start doing that to keep the meetings down. Probably over the last year, we've been doing continueds on occasion,
So I want to be clear, nothing significantly changes from what you're doing now. The process that you are going through right now is things are juggling between study, action, and consent. And based on your review of it, they toggle between those three categories. My recommendation is we just put everything on action. And so you can take action if you want to, or you can kick it to the next meeting like you are doing. We're just not toggling between, is it on consent? Is it on action? Is it on study? And then you can act on it when it's on study. And then we open it up when it's on not on consent, right? So it's just really streamlining, like everything goes on action and you still have full purview to act on it the way you see fit. It's just streamlining so that if you do see fit that it's good to go, you can take action. It's giving you further authority for all of the items on every agenda to be able to take the full breadth of actions. So just to clarify that, but we can certainly come back with some data on how you've toggled it. I just want to be clear, we're not taking any authority away from you. We're just kind of rearranging it to try and things move. The projects that are ready move more quickly.
So the noticing too, then how does that work? So the public
Same.
just gets one notice. It doesn't come out twice when it comes back, right? So I think the public, when things come back, they get noticed twice, the public, I'm saying.
So we want to be clear, study items are not required to be noticed.
Okay.
Right,
Just
so
right now,
when you're taking, it's a public hearing when you guys are taking action.
I see.
Is
Okay.
the requirement that they be noticed.
Mhm.
But yes, in theory, when something was coming to you twice for discussion, it could be only coming once.
Okay. Mhm.
But we would still recommend, we'd still send the notices out, and the notices are very clear. If you have any comments, come to the meeting, submit your comment, irrespective.
Let's hit the design review button.
Yeah, so think about that and digest it, and we can talk more about it. This is why I wanted to bring this up now, so we're not just catching you with the already written code amendments. Second, it would be, I'm throwing out this idea of eliminating the design review consultant requirement. Now, there are a handful of projects, but what I have seen more frequently, and really Planning Commission, you guys can gauge, is we're exercising this for a very small portion of the projects. The layer of concern here is that when an applicant applies for a project, they are paying fees for this process, and they're not aware or necessarily know that maybe at the hearing process, they're going to incur this additional fee and have to go an additional process that they were not anticipating, where they have already hired their own design professionals and have their professionals in line to help assist with this. The thought would be if this segment was eliminated, that either the Planning Commission can continue that and provide more clear direction to see it where it wants to be, which is commonly how design review committees or planning commissions work the design issues out, or you can defer them to staff to work out behind the scenes with some clear direction. Now, it is an opportunity or possibility that staff obtain our own design review consultant that we can use in those cases in concert, but that cost is not incurred by the applicant. It is incurred by the city and the staff. If the thought was like, hey, in this case, like say it's a really bad design, that we believe you should get a design consultant to assist with your review staff as you work with the applicant on that. That was a layer of concern in the thought of maybe removing this requirement, seeing other ways we could resolve this should those cases arise.
Mhm.
Again, think about it, digest it. Any questions about that?
I'm just curious then, what is the logical conclusion? So let's say we've had a few, not too many, it's true, but there are some that are way off the mark. So if we keep continuing and continuing, and then at a certain time, we're not allowed to have more than a certain amount of meetings anyway. You're saying before that fourth meeting or before that third meeting, you might suggest it goes to a staff-hired design review consultant, and then we need to take it because we can't have, there's no anymore is the point.
Yeah, we can still reject it on action.
Yes?
Yeah, of course.
Yes, and I think, I think you've had a lot of design review consultants that have worked for years that the city could retain. I think that no, and I think with some and I've seen with the direction that the commission provides, that most times they're able to work the design issues out. It is, yes, a few rare issues or projects that maybe get tripped up, but we could resolve that, I think, in either the hearing or the behind the scenes option. We have gotten many complaints and pushbacks about the idea of this incurred additional cost and review and having another consultant working on the behind the scenes. So we're trying to kind of balance what is maybe a more typical process that's seen when these design issues are unresolvable through the hearing process, which again is a small portion of them. But we can bring back some numbers too of how many you guys have passed on to consultants. But again, digest this.
They do happen, and they're the worst of the worst, and
Yep.
they're poorly built.
Mhm.
I drive by all the time, and I go,
Yep.
wow, that was a bad
How
decision.
did that happen? And we end up,
Let this happen.
Yep.
Mhm.
The design review consultant do it, and they
Yep.
still executed it.
Mhm. Yep. There is a reason why we have design review. There's,
Now, if you asked me, could we be doing it better with actual design out in the field to see that they're actually executing?
Mhm.
That might actually be a better use of resources, because a lot of these, they decide that they're not going to follow what they did, what they proposed, and they go off script and they pick poor materials, and then they look horrible.
Mhm. Yes, and I think what you're bringing up is beyond the like design review consultant piece. It's the execution during construction, and we can definitely have more conversations around that, but that is beyond the entitlement process.
Right, but if I knew I had more savior on the backside, the front side, we could maybe handle better. But some of these, they come in and I don't even know where to start,
Mhm.
redraw.
And do you mean on the backside by the planning commission or a design review consultant, or just with staff's inspections on the field?
I just feel sometimes what we recommend then doesn't get followed in the field.
Mhm.
And sometimes it's the owner choosing to go off script, sometimes it's the contractor going off script. Largely happens when they're out of town and first timers and don't have the money. They're unprepared for what they're about to do, and what it all usually turns into is a really bad project.
Mhm. Okay, we can, the construction side of things is always challenging, and I don't want to go too far into this as we didn't agendize to talk about this, and we can talk about it more maybe at another agendized meeting. But it is a struggle that every city faces, and some of it's purposeful and intentional, and some of it is oversight. But definitely, we can look into that a little bit closer.
I feel they're all interrelated. Most of our projects go well because usually it's contractors and architects who work in the area and kind of know how to do a good job. And I agree, those could go a lot smoother and not need all this extra oversight. But when it goes bad, it goes really bad. And it hits the whole process. So if we could figure out better ways of managing the really bad, then that could make it easier for ones that aren't.
maybe that I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I mean, I think the staff probably can recognize some of these already before they get here. And I know that actually, I believe that they already try to work with the designers. I know they try real hard, but sometimes they want to try their luck anyway here. So then we have these long debates. It's not really a debate because we're usually on the same page. Those are the problem ones, because I do know they try hard.
Right.
Get it to a point where we can see it and have some meat to talk about, but so.
Right, and as we're doing staff recommendations, we are digging into that more and more, and you're seeing that reflected through the staff reports. Unfortunately, people can hire who they would like to hire, and often hire what their cost budgets allow, and we can try and mitigate as much as possible, but it is possible to eliminate all of the scenarios that can go wrong. We can do our best. But I think this is a reality in every community. But surely I can think more about how we can pick it up on the tail end from staff's inspections. But I want to be clear, once a project is entitled, the Planning Commission is no longer involved in that project. It's moved on to ministerial staff level reviews and compliance.
But
Okay.
in some respects, that cost hit of having to go through design review is the first warning of, don't do this poorly. And so it could be that that in of itself is a conversation generator, try and prevent a project that is just going to go badly.
Right. And you can continue, like Commissioner Pfaff said, that item to multiple hearings until you believe, as you all have noted, it's very well aware which projects are the ones till you see the plans at the point that you want to see them. However, for 90% that are not, we are having them go through additional processes. How can we make the 90% go smoother? And then, yes, we can figure out the 10%. But from what we've observed, it is closer to the smaller proportion of applications. And my general philosophy is to build the system for the bulk and deal with the oddities versus build the system for the oddities and hold up the bulk. Okay. There are other things we're looking at in terms of shifting minor application types or modifications to an administrative review, things that we see get no public comment or pretty straightforward, like master sign programs and more minor application types that we can just take care of at a staff level. So you will see sprinklings of that throughout. And then we're taking a fresh look at the community benefits menu options. There's a desire for more public art. We're adding a public art component to that. You'll see more related to the housing element implementation stuff, such as the larger residential affordable units and more affordable units, as well as some of the benefits are now basically code requirements and taking those out as benefits since projects will have to do it. So you'll see a more refined menu. And then there will be other ones coming through, but these were kind of the significant ones. So I appreciate your willingness and openness to consider all of these options and ideas. Again, this will be an agendized meeting and it'll be noticed according to all of the requirements for zoning code amendments. And we'll discuss it at a future meeting.
May I just ask one little question regarding the master sign program? So it's not changes to it, it's how they're handled. So you're not recalculating. I know the reason why we have a master sign program, because things were getting very bad and very big. And so you're not talking about adjusting there's a math equation or something with that. That's not what you're talking about. You're talking about it doesn't come to us, it's handled by you.
Correct.
That's okay, thank you.
There are other kind of thresholds we are tweaking with that you will see. And again, we're using what we're seeing are the ones that have the most public interest or the most interest by commission, or we're getting the stuff that's really minor, that isn't high volume or controversial. We're saying, let's just handle those at a staff level, leaving the more controversial, the higher volume, the bigger stuff for the planning commission.
Can I ask one more thing? It's
Mhm.
it's often a hot point with us is window issues, window detail. I mean, we talk about that a lot. So is that the type of thing then you're saying you will be doing more of that at staff level? Or does that, I mean, that's a big deal. We talk about, divided lights and details and what type of window and so.
No, it would be specific zoning requirements that trigger either a modification or a special permit or a review at the planning commission. For example, like Brittany, can you think of one off the top of your head?
Attached garage.
Attached garage, solar on top of the roof requires major design review. We're kicking that down to minor design review. So it's things like that where right now, very small things require major design review that feel more in line with minor design review, or some things that require a special permit that feels more like a minor modification. So the requirements are still there. It's just we're reviewing staff level. There's no requirement right now for windows. That's all just part of standard design review.
Thank you.
Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay. Any other questions around this, or Netta, why are you destroying everything?
See it come back?
Most likely in October, November, with the recommendation then going on to city council, which city council will have 2 public hearings for ordinance changes.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for being open to all of this.
Thank you. Agenda item number 9, staff and commission reports. Are there any commissioner reports? Staff, do you have anything to share?
I do. Last but not least, and Michael Guino wanted to be here tonight himself to introduce his new assistant city attorney. Unfortunately, he was unable to and pass the honor on to me. I do want to introduce Tamar Burke, who's the new assistant city attorney. This is week 2. She's come back, which is always a good sign. And Tamar comes to us from the private side as a consultant that's been assisting other public agencies. So this is not her first experience with local government, but I will turn it over to you. Say anything you'd like to say.
Right. Thank you, Netta. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm really excited to join this team. It's been, let's see, this is my 6th day as a City of Burlingame employee. So far, so great. I'm looking forward to supporting the Planning Commission, and my door is always open. So if you guys have any questions, want to chat, I'm right across the way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
The meeting is adjourned at 8:57.